Welcome to The Other Side of the Bridge with Iron City Paranormal, where they discuss real investigations, first-hand experiences, unexplained moments, and everything that happens when you step off the regular path and onto the other side of the bridge. Just honest paranormal talk, Iron City Paranormal style. And now, here are your hosts, Derek Smith and Dan Metelsky.
There are moments when curiosity urges us to take a leap of faith, even when we have no idea what's waiting ahead. A bridge is the physical embodiment of our curiosity taking over, allowing for our passion for the unknown to drive us forward. A bridge is where we leave solid ground behind, and for a moment we're suspended between what we understand and what we don't. The transition between where we feel safe and where we lose control of our own destiny. Tonight, we're crossing that bridge together. Welcome to the other side of the bridge. We're not here to tell you what to believe. We're here to walk with you across the bridge and into the unknown. Welcome back. Or if you're joining us for the first time, welcome to the other side of the bridge. Today we got a good one. Today we got a real good episode 10. We're diving back into Twin City Opera House. I say back into because it's been a while since we've been here. And
2021. It has been a while.
That's unbelievable. And
right?
the reason this came up, like why we kind of were pulled back to this investigation over the stacks and stacks of investigations that we have at our disposal, was very much what we were talking about the last couple of weeks, revolving around the use of crystals, the use of pendulums. When we started talking about that, this is the investigation that immediately came to both of our minds.
Yeah, I mean, it's the first one that kind of popped up in there that the pendulum activity made such an impact on us, how we treat investigations, how we use the pendulums, and the activity that we got here with that pendulum, like it changed the way that people see that building for the better. And it was phenomenal. The activity that we got here, the experiences we had. And this is also one that I always refer to. I always talk about because it's a theater. We talk so many times. There's so many things that are just tied to the negativity of places and the tragedies, and not to say there's not here, but with kind of the being a focal point of the opera house itself, with all these shows and everything that they have, it's more positive energy that's left behind.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about this just before we jumped on. That idea of not all of these places being negative, because I think that paranormal investigations get that rap for always being in those dark places, in those prisons, and those infirmaries where people were abused and treated like absolute garbage. And I think this is a place that it had a little bit of a reputation in one area for being housing, so to speak, like a negative presence.
Right.
But thank God it was never something that we ran into, at least on this one. No,
I mean, we were ready for it. Like mentally, we didn't jump right into it. It took us a while to get down to that basement area because we've heard this, shadow figure, negative, didn't like men, didn't like people in his space. And, what we got from it, it completely changed our perspective on it. And I even think that the teams that run it even were blown away by some of the evidence that we got.
Yeah, it's the age-old aggressive male energy, right?
Right.
We've
never heard that one before.
Yeah, we've done so many investigations where we've had people that were psychic or spirit sensitives be like, I sense a negative male presence. It's like, really? Tell me something else that's new. Because it is actually everywhere we go, we're getting that same vibe. So, but of course, we're talking about the Twin City Opera House in McConnelsville, McConnelsville, Ohio, correct? Is that the name?
That's right.
McConnelsville.
Yep, McConnelsville. And
It was like one of those towns that, like, had we not heard of this place, we probably never would have heard
it's
of it.
such a small town, but it was beautiful. Like
Yeah.
it was such a nice little area. I would have spent an entire weekend there, just kind of, walking the old brick streets and seeing all the old storefronts and everything. But yeah, I mean, the building, like the groundwork to this was what, 1889. I mean, it shows you the history, how far back this little town goes. And I'll tell you, I misspelled McConnelsville so many times when writing about this place, because it's not spelled right in my mind,
It's funny how that works, but I guess to somebody it makes sense, right?
At some point it did. I mean, being that I'm not sure when the town itself was constructed, but if they were building an opera house in 1889, it's been around at that point. But the what else did you do back then, right? Like that was the thing. That was the thing to do. That's where all your entertainment was. So it was built in the town square. I mean, why not, right? But this place was it's beautiful. I mean, they've really done a lot of work restoring it. And I mean, so I believe it was originally built, the price tag on it was $16,000. I don't know what that translates to in our time, but that number stuck out to me for some reason. And I'm like, is that a lot of money? I was told it was. So, it was up there with expenses. But its role in the town, as a cultural hub, it really kind of laid the groundwork for the town, and became like a cultural central point. But yeah, it also had its high end features. Throughout the time that it was there, and it acted as an opera house for plays and shows. They were one of the first ones in the eastern side of the United States to add a silent film. So they did that in 1913, showing how far that they'd come. And then they had sound films, and they just kept adding on to this place. And it was, it was originally constructed for these open theater shows, and then all of a sudden they started changing it they even added like a projector in, to try to keep up with the times back in the 1930s, 1936, I believe. But since then, it's been open. It's an operating place. They still put on shows there. It's still, it's still in operation to this day, thanks to the restoration efforts of the town, and rightfully so.
And it really does show the way that not only that this location had developed throughout the course of time, like changing with what was popular back in the day, right? Like
Sure.
going from like vaudeville, like you were saying,
Right.
to like plays and different things, and now they show movies there, right? Because nobody's looking for plays, right?
Yeah, exactly.
They're not looking. They're not looking here for it, right? They're not in.
They're not going out of their way to
Ohio, right? So
right.
Like, it's just neat to me because like places like this have to develop. They have to, mold with whatever the hot
change with the
thing
times,
is.
right?
Exactly,
And they did just that.
Absolutely, and it's kept the place relevant and the doors open, right? Which is great. But again, here's the other thing that we love about doing this is, the money that we spend to go to these places keeps the place in good shape, right? Like the people aren't just pocketing this money, they're doing good things with it. So that's why it's an exciting thing to do for many different facets.
Yeah, and I mean, what they've done too is they've turned it into essentially a lecture hall, and for musical arts lectures, graduations, they've added an entire area there where they can have these these parties, and it really helps support the small town that it is, and it also is affordable for surrounding areas. You get some high schools there, they have their shows and plays there. It's not expensive, not just to keep the place going, basically. And then you get more people with getting their eyes on it, and that they want to come in and they want to have their own party there. And it becomes a word of mouth sort of thing. But once you get in the place, you can understand why.
Oh yeah, and the giant, creepy, beautiful slash just awe-inspiring building obviously comes, as all these kind of buildings do. Anything with age comes with paranormal activity and reports of paranormal activity, right? Which is
Right.
what got us into it.
Yeah, I mean, that was so, shows aside, there were a few tragedies that did occur here. The
Mhm.
first was a murder in the back alley. The town marshal, Horace Porter, I believe was his name. He was shot and killed in the back alley with the 32 revolver.
I
And
love how you could just pull that name out of your hat because it's been 5 years since we've done this.
well, I had to rebuild
I'm
our
sure you had to refresh, but
website, but
after 5 minutes, I would not remember the name Horace.
oh, come on,
right?
Horace, that sticks with you. But so there are claims that he's stuck around, just kind of tragically ending his life there. But oddly enough, the prosecutor, who was involved in that, 4 years later, killed himself with the same gun
Nice.
on the property. So you take all of those, the one tragedy eventually, takes two of these people's lives, and then you start to open yourself up to, what else is here, because those tragedies, absolutely, they're horrible, they're sad, but some of these stories, they open up a whole nother side of things. There's been said to be a 10-year-old little girl. Her name was Elizabeth, who I believe we interacted with.
But she did not die. Now, refresh my
No.
memory. She did not die in the building, right?
She
died
did not. It was
across the street.
Yes, she
think
was.
it
She was
was.
across the street, and either, I want to say, it was like a hotel or something along those lines. But she would come and watch her mother perform there. So it was kind of like a regular occurrence. She was basically
That's
just
right.
part of the show. But yeah, she's been said to come back there. And then you have a longtime usher, Everett Miller, who was said to come back. He was basically there when the place opened, and worked his entire life, literally his entire life, at this place, at this theater. And it's said that this is basically just his home after, he loved the building, he loved the shows, he loved being there. So why not?
Yeah, really.
So he's one that's said to come back, and up in the balcony, he's said to play with flashlights and set seats down for certain guests. There's actually one chair, I believe, that's people claim that is down. It's pushed down when no one's there, as if he's sitting and watching a show. And that's related to him, I believe. But
Okay, I do remember that because it's like they don't do it as a memorial, so to speak, but they attribute that seat of being down as being
to him,
his seat, right?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And that's one of the people that said to still be there. And again, that's a positive. That's a good reason to be there. He wants to be there.
Yeah, I mean, I would take the guy that liked the movie theater or the stage theater. I would take that guy that liked people being there over
Right.
like an axe murderer.
Oh,
You know
well,
what I
yeah,
mean? Like the
absolutely.
spirit of an axe murderer.
Right.
So like we talk like when we're going to talk about that quite a bit, like the vibes that we got in the building, even though people were telling us there was something bad there, we never felt that here.
No. I mean, so you think about it too. Like when we first got there, with our walkthrough and everything, you weren't necessarily as established as you are now, and open with your sensitivities as you are now, but we still use you as our ghost sniffer. You were our our dog that would go out and, Dan, is there a ghost there? Go check it out. Before we knew what we were really doing.
Right.
But
Right.
you never came across anything like that. Not negative, not like that. early on we were up on the catwalk, nothing really had happened, but I know that you felt like somebody was walking behind us or right across from us on that catwalk. And there were a few moments where you just kind of like, you knew, right?
Mm-hmm.
You felt somebody
Mm-hmm.
there. And we did, thanks to that, we opened up some communication, and we did actually we heard some footsteps and some very strange noises. But if it wasn't for you sensing those things, we probably wouldn't have got those. But we did uh, capture some knocking sounds and footsteps there. I can play some of those here real
Yeah, let's get
quick.
into it. Yeah.
Hello, is there somebody down there?
So you can actually hear those footsteps. It's quiet, but you can hear those footsteps at the end. And we were all sitting in this nice little circle, around this creepy area where there's like toys, and I believe at one point you were trying to have a tea party with the little girl.
Mm-hmm.
We were prepping you to be a dad at that point, and we had to teach you how to play tea set. And at that point, that's as we were sitting there and listening to all these, just kind of being there, right? Just
Mm-hmm.
being in the moment. We heard a lot of these noises, and that's when those footsteps came around. That's when the very strange knocking noises were heard, always on the opposite side of us. So the catwalk, if you remember, it like stretched all the way across the building in kind of like you go straight and then over and then back. So there was these noises always occurred on the opposite side. Like they didn't want to get too close to us, but they were there.
Well, and as you know, like this was the first place that we were in the building.
Correct.
And every investigation we've ever done, there's that feeling out period for the spirits, right? For us, as well as the
Yes.
presences.
It works both ways. You're right.
Yeah, it does. They're not typically, spirits don't just, it's not like horror movies, right? And I
They're
wish
not
it
going to
was.
just
And
poof.
right. And we've said that how many times? Like, I wish it was that simple. I wish you walk through a door and it's like in your face, ready to talk, right?
Hey,
It's
ghost,
very
come get
much
me.
not-
Yeah.
exactly.
Doesn't work that way.
So like these footsteps behind us, those presences behind us, those distant knockings and things, that is what we get a lot of the time when we first start, because they're
Early
just
on, right?
they're feeling us out because I don't know what it is, right? And probably take until I die to find out what the
Right.
purpose is, right? But my belief is, that they're just making sure that we're not there to cause harm to their location, to
Sure.
them as spirits, because maybe people could chase them out. I don't know. Very much just testing the waters with us, just like
Right.
we're trying to adjust to the space as well.
Absolutely, it works both ways there. And when we start getting those kind of senses and feelings, that's a good sign for us.
Mhm.
A lot of people would be running out of the building when they're there by themselves and they hear all these things. But we were when we started hearing these things, we kind of came up with a game plan and sort of continued on.
Mhm.
Thanks to those things. But we have, with that, we also had a lot of K2 activity.
And with you, Robert?
So you could see the K2 there flashing at the very bottom. It wasn't doing that the entire time. It wasn't electrical. We tried a lot to figure out what it was, but they would come and go. But that was the little nook that we were sitting in, around those toys. So we were sitting right there the whole time in that catwalk, as these noises were happening around us.
It always is every time we do or talk about theaters. I always remember another investigation that we did with it was a public investigation where somebody
Oh
took a
no.
K2
Yeah,
meter
I know where
and
you're going.
they chased this phantom interaction with a K2 meter, right? And for those that have used it, you have the lights that change based on the electromagnetic field that it is seeing, right? And this individual, Derek and I were sitting on another stage, and we'll get into this in later reviews that we do of our other investigation of People's Bank in Marietta, I believe.
Yes.
But I'm going to tell it 100 times because it was so funny, and this is what this is the reality of paranormal investigations, right? Derek and I were sitting on the stage trying to stay away from the other people that were there because
Yeah.
there was probably 30, 40 other people in this
And it wasn't
theater.
big. It was
It
nowhere near as big
wasn't.
as this place.
Yeah, and we're trying to just get away from everybody. Well, these two women came up and they were walking around on the stage while we were trying to ignore them, and they had a K2 meter, and they followed this phantom interaction all the way to a wall,
Utility box.
a utility box on the wall, and they were freaking
Uh-huh.
out thinking that it was a spiritual interaction, but it was just the energy coming off of the electrical panel. So it was, we'll talk about that way in better detail later on, but
I love that moment though. It's like
yeah,
this is what we're dealing with, you know?
oh, no doubt. But we've all been there, right? That we were there when we started, and I'm sure we still have those moments.
Yeah.
But just theaters in general, I mean, there's so much to them, right? They're big open spaces. There's a vibe to them that I
Well,
love.
it's layered too, right? I mean,
Mhm.
you have the stage with the performers, you have the audience out in the up on the balcony, down in the
Mhm.
crowd, you have the backstage, you have the basement where it's
Mhm.
almost always dirty and dingy, and that's where all the utilities are. And then there's usually some kind of other area that's like used for gatherings or like an office, something along those lines. Like Twin City has their grand ballroom,
Mhm.
but every place is a little bit different. But you add all those things together, and man, you have so much potential for all these different things to come through. And this place, I always refer back to it because there was so much going on that we took so much away from this one.
Yeah, and theaters are very much like a train station, right?
Yep. Yeah,
Where
you're
there's
right.
just so many
It's a
people
hub.
flowing in and out of the building throughout its history that, depending on what your beliefs are as far as, what creates ghosts or what creates spirit, energetic interactions during a paranormal investigation, right? Like all of this movement of these people, these countless thousands of people coming in and out of the space, they all kind of leave their imprint on the space. Like that energy soaks into the floorboard, soaks into the walls, right? And then when you do an investigation, potentially there is a belief that that energy comes out, right? Of the floorboards you're walking on, of the thing you're sitting on, the old wood chair or what have you. That's why, like I said, that's why I like to do theaters because there's just so many things you never know what you're gonna get.
Yep, that's right. And not only that, but every investigation is different too. So you add that
No
into it,
doubt.
and it's just it's a melting pot, right?
Yeah, I mean, it really is like a spiritual melting pot, right? Because and then that's kind of where it's fun to parse out. Like, is it something that is a person tied to the theater as an actor
Right.
or as an entertainer, or is it possibly the spirit of somebody that just enjoyed going to the theater to watch these performances?
There.
Or like the little girl in this
Yep.
one, was it somebody who liked to watch their mother, and while she was on stage performing, she ended up dying from a very severe illness nearby, but just because, again,
She
that was
was
a place
drawn
that
to
she
it.
liked to
Yeah.
be, right? That's where she has set up residence for, who gosh, we don't even know how long. You know,
Right. And
probably
it,
not forever, but for
it's
right now at least.
and people buy into it so much too that they experience these people, and then they kind of they add to the lore, right?
Mhm,
So in the basement of this place, I know there was a rocking chair that was donated to them that
mhm,
they
yep,
now they set it aside there for the little girl's mother. And then in the chairs, like we were talking about earlier, it's set out, it's, set aside. No one sits there for the usher. So, there's so many different things that just kind of add to it. And then we create it ourselves.
Yeah. So we're gonna take a quick break for ads. Coming out of the ad break, we're gonna get into kind of where we started to use the pendulum, kind of the vibe that we get on like how they work and everything. And we're gonna touch on that amazing capture that we had with the pendulum and the SLS with Little Girl in the basement. So stick with us after the ads. We'll be right back.
The new book, How to Research a Haunted House by paranormal investigator Margie Kay and professional researcher Violet Wisdom, is now available from Unex Media. This one-of-a-kind book explains how to do research on a house with uncommon methods and resources used by historic home researchers, and how to determine who may be doing the haunting and why. How to Research a Haunted House can be used by homeowners, renters, investors, and it should be in the library of all professional paranormal investigators. Get this unique book at unexmedia.com or amazon.com. That's unexmedia.com or amazon.com. The truth, it's out there, and it's waiting for you. The Unexplained Network is your source for the best in paranormal programming, live video streaming and audio streaming from hauntings, UFOs, Bigfoot, cryptids, and the ever-expanding realm of the unexplained. Listen live or on demand now on Spreaker, Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeart, and Pockets all over the World Wide Web. The Unexplained Network, where unexplained lives. Every ghost story and creature feature lies a far more terrifying truth. The real monsters wear human faces. In the chilling book, All Monsters Are Human, from Derek Smith, 10 Twisted Tales expose the darkest parts of the human soul. From killers hiding in plain sight to obsessions turned deadly. Each story invites you to step into a shadowed world where morality unravels, and the only thing more terrifying than what lurks in the dark is who. These aren't just horror stories. They're reflections of ourselves, showing what happens when fear, rage, guilt, and desire take control. Visit unexmedia.com for more information on All Monsters Are Human from Derek Smith. And you can purchase them at amazon.com from unexmedia.com.
So to get back into where we left off, so we were up on the catwalk. We started to get some interactions. We got drawn down out of the catwalk by some noises on the stage, if I remember correctly.
That's right.
But then we were pulled to the backstage area, and that's when really things started to open up for us and really started to kick off truly meaningful interactions.
Yeah, so we followed those noises, those footsteps, the knocking noises and everything. And I know that we wanted to hit the basement, but we just had something that, forced us to take a pause at the backstage area. And with the open space that we had there, kind of right behind the curtain, we started to use some of our other tools. So we put out the K2 meter again. We used the balloon, with
LED light balloons.
Yeah. And as those started going off, we started to get a little bit of communication through the Phasma box. One of the ones that kind of stuck with me, I'll play that here real quick because we didn't take a long time in this backstage area, but we did get a few things through the Phasma box. I'll play real quick here.
You can volunteer.
Was there a magician here at one point on the stage?
So something like that, I'm not going to let it drag on too long, but you get the idea. It tied directly in to shows.
Mhm.
When you hear this thing say, "I need a volunteer," what do you think of? That's a show, right? I mean, something that's just playing over and over again. And
Mhm.
then the last one that I'm going to play here is right here.
Seem to be obsessed with the flashlight.
So the flashlights kept going crazy, and then you could hear it talking about it. I like that. I like this. Being able to start opening up and talking to somebody. So I don't think that this backstage area was a major stop on paranormal investigations. So when we paused there, just with that sixth sense, that's kind of when things, like you said, started to open up for us.
Yeah, the backstage area really wasn't sexy, right? As far
Right. There wasn't a lot
far,
to it.
yeah, I mean, there's so many other cool areas. There's the auditorium where all the seats are, and then there's, of course, the stage, and then there's the creepy basement that everybody wants to go to. So it was a stopping point for us very briefly, but it paid dividends as far as the short amount of time we spent there. We started to, again, the spirits started to open up a little bit more with us in this area, right? They weren't knocking on the other side of the room, they weren't knocking on the other side of the stage or down below us. They were interacting directly with us. And something that we find a lot of value in and continues to this day is those mini mag lights that we use for
Yes.
communication, because they're not
Absolutely.
scary, right? They don't light up, and they don't like flashlights and make noise when they go off like a REM pod.
That's
They're
right.
very subtle with the way that they work, right? And for those that aren't familiar, you take a mini mag light, you turn the head of it to the where it's almost on, but it's just in the off position. There is a belief that, well, physically, those contacts on between the battery and
It
the
has
light
to
are very,
physically make contact, right? I
yeah,
mean,
they're
that's
very close together, right? There's a very small gap between those contacts. The theory is that the spirit itself cannot physically turn the head of the flashlight, but they can use their energy to close that small gap
yeah, they like
and
bridge it,
turn the
right? I
light
mean,
on.
that's the
Exactly.
idea. They're not sitting there flicking it on and off, pressing its on and off button.
Right.
They're actually making that connection with using their own energy.
They're using their bodies, their little ghost bodies to
A
just close
ghost
it off.
body.
Yeah. We should maybe do that, but like use your little ghost bodies to make that light up over there.
Well, that's
And
one
let's
way to
see if
scare
it
them off.
happens.
Sure,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
I mean,
know, right? Right? Like here it comes from the fat guy that scares things off all the time. Let's use your ghost body to
yeah,
light
tell
that
that to a
light up.
kid and see what happens. That's
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
why
If
we
I
scare them off all the time.
Yeah, and I promise you I will do that the next time we have an investigation.
I'm
So
just
f
I'm
feel
very
free to
grateful your
throw things
sister
at
was at
me.
this one, so
Yeah,
she
feel
kept
free
you
to
in
throw
check.
stuff at me. So to move on, because we're
Let's
going
yeah,
down a
let's
path
move
that we
on.
will not be able to come back from. So we
I
went
would
through the
prefer to
back.
be in the creepy basement right now. So
Yeah, yeah, it's way less creepy than what I'm about to do. So we ended up continuing through the backstage area down a walkway into the creepy basement, and this is where we set up shop, and we
we spent
believe
some time there.
very
That's for
we
sure.
we spent a lot of time down there expecting to contact or make a connection or interact with this rumored negative presence that was in the basement.
Well, I
There's a
think that's
old
also why we
tunnel.
that's why we drag our feet at first because
We
we
don't
had to
want to go down
right,
there.
we had to build ourselves up to it because it's like,
Right.
oh, this old guy, he's going to be after us. And I mean, at first we thought that he was going to because we
Right.
had rocks thrown at us, if you recall, or stones kicked at us, or whatever, however you want to
Yeah,
phrase
there
that.
was there was something that was being, I don't know, because we've had stuff several times actually thrown at us
We
during an
have, yes.
investigation. These ones I don't know if they were thrown at us or if they were just whatever was being, because I don't think we ever nailed down exactly what it was.
What we never found anything. Put it
Right,
that
but
way.
but we heard something. It was a dirt floor, if I remember. So like we couldn't, like, we would hear stuff like
Here, I have a
clinking
better
through the
idea.
dirt.
What the?
Eh,
So
yeah,
okay,
good
I
catch
caught that
there.
one.
Yeah, good. We did not swear there. Well, we did swear, but we cut it off. So good job.
I panicked.
Yeah, so that sound is like something hitting the dirt floor
I mean,
fairly close to
you
us.
can hear it. I
Mhm.
mean, it was, and we always, what we do with the recorder is we set it down. We don't carry it with us because then you have that ambient noise of like pockets or you carrying it or whatever. So we'll
Mhm.
actually set the recorder down, whether it's on the floor, a chair, whatever's nearby. So obviously, at that moment, the recorder was somewhere, and you can hear how clear my voice was coming through there. So we were relatively close to the recorder. So
Mhm.
that noise was fairly loud.
Yeah. So we had the flashlights here again, right? We set them up. We cast that net with our equipment, trying to see where the spirit's hanging out, right?
Right.
Where they're comfortable interacting with us. So we had flashlights next to us. We had flashlights in the corner. We had REM pods out. We had, whatever you could think of or whatever we had available to us at the time. We had it spread out over this basement area, which is, we kept trying to speak to this male presence
Right.
that was rumored to be in this area, and we got bupkis. Like there was
Nothing.
nothing,
That's right.
right? Like nothing was responding to us. So I can't remember what made us shift gears.
You
Do
know
you
what it
remember?
was? Yes, it was a heavy breathing noise that we heard,
Mm.
and it creeped us out. I think I actually have this clip of it right now.
Basement, sub-basement.
Okay, so that obviously is not it. I think I have to fast forward that one, but there was a heavy breathing noise that we had heard.
Okay.
As we got started, like we were just starting off and we heard it and we're
Mhm.
like, who was that? And then we heard it again later on. And that's when we're like, all right, there is something here. There's more to this than we really think.
Yeah.
Rather than absolutely nothing, as we have had before, there
Mhm.
was something there and it made us change gears. And then we had these rocks thrown at us like that. And then the breathing occurred again.
Mhm.
At that point, we decided, okay, let's just change what we're doing. And I don't remember how we thought that it was a little girl or a little child, like a child, but
Mhm.
I do know that all of a sudden we kind of just we got out our simple things. We started focusing on the flashlights. That's when we got the pendulum out,
Mhm.
um, and we started interacting with this little girl, and it was one of the craziest things that we'd ever seen. When you started playing with her, I mean, it started with the pendulum, right?
Well, no, it started with the flashlights,
Okay,
because
that's what got us into the pendulum
yeah,
then.
I
Okay,
had one set up right next to me. You were, doing as you usually do and trying to capture it all with a camera,
right.
which thank God you do, because this would all just be storytelling if we didn't have something to show for it. But something lit up the light next to me, and whenever we questioned whether it was a little girl, that was what it would use the flashlights to answer the yes or no questions. I believe that, if I remember correctly, that's kind of what got us on that.
I think you're right. And the moment that I just keep replaying over and over here is a moment where you asked if she could light the flashlight up on the other side of the room.
Yep. Yeah, and I framed it like a game, right?
Right.
I said,
Absolutely.
I really want to play a game with you. I want you to run as fast as you can over to that other corner. The flashlight was actually in front of that rocking chair that you were talking about,
Right.
that was like left there for supposedly her mother, the spirit of her mother. And I said, can you run over to that flashlight? When I say go, run as fast as you can. And I said 3, 2, 1, go. And then it was not a second later that flashlight on the other side of the basement, that had not done anything for the 20 minutes we were down there by this point, lit up.
Yeah, you can actually see it on the far side in that clip where it actually started going. I mean, And that's when I think she started to trust us.
Yeah. And
Like
we started to trust her that it was not something that we needed to be
we
afraid of as
started
well.
to confirm that it was her, right?
Right.
I mean,
Mhm.
and then on top of that, we had a K2 meter at our feet. We
Mhm.
had the pendulum, and all of these things just kind of coincided in the perfect moment. I mean, the pendulum was, man, we had that thing going good, and we don't use it nearly enough as not like we should, especially
Yeah.
for moments like this.
Yeah, we need to get better at it for sure. But there's a lot of hesitation that people will have on pendulum activity as it pertains to investigations that has had to be something that we've had to navigate ourselves a little bit,
Right.
especially when we first started getting to the point where we were using it and trusting what it was saying, right? Because there and this is why I don't do dowsing rods, or like when
Exactly.
why we don't do dowsing rods.
I mean, you
Um,
know how my hands shake on a regular basis. I can't do
mhm,
that. So,
yeah, but and it doesn't take much with a dowsing rod to pitch it up or down
right,
for it to rotate, right? And we've had some really cool interactions with dowsing rods, but in every interaction we've had that was really something that we would trust, neither of us were holding it. Other people that we were
correct.
with were holding them.
And then we just tried to like talked and let them just hold it and get the responses from it.
Exactly. So there is belief that the energy that is flowing through the person that is holding the pendulum, which in this case is me for the most part, that our energies are what influence that pendulum swinging in certain directions.
Yeah,
But there's also belief that those micro changes in your hand movement.
that's them influencing. I mean,
Well, it could be them influencing, but it could also be you subconsciously not intending to move it.
but actually
May
moving it on your own, right?
Right, maybe your hand is moving just a little bit and pushing it the way that you want, right? Which is why when we do recordings of pendulum, we always keep in the screen my top hand that's
Yep,
holding the chain on the pendulum, because any kind of minute changes, you're gonna see it.
that's
Right?
right.
If I'm purposely swinging my hand just to get a rise out of somebody, which we don't do, but if I'm even subconsciously doing it, we'll be able to go back and see that,
Yeah,
and
we
we
can
don't see
tell,
that,
right?
right? So this spirit or what have you was answering yes, no questions with this pendulum, and we talked about it last episode, but this is when you broke out the SLS camera
Yep.
and you got that photo and that video of this figure that was child height crouching next to me, that was reaching and actually touching the pendulum and
So
swinging
the
it.
first thing that I saw was this figure on the other side of the room that started to move closer as the K2s were going off,
Mhm.
as the flashlight was going off. After that, this is actually where we could physically see this little girl reaching out and playing with the pendulum. Like you can see her hand moving it.
Mhm.
Um, I love the close in view because like that's her hand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's her hand moving the pendulum. And
Mhm.
I don't know if we'll ever get something that incredible again to have it line up the way that it did.
I mean, boy, I hope you're wrong,
I do too.
because
I do too.
it's so cool when we got it, and it's still so fascinating to me. I hope you're wrong, but you might be right. And we've had a love-hate relationship with that SLS. This is how much of a pain in the butt it
It
is to
is.
carry
Yes.
around.
It's a haul.
Um, yeah, it really is, and we're trying to find a little bit more um, travel friendly, so to speak,
Yeah.
devices to do the same thing. We're currently trying to flush out how trustworthy the ghost tube app
Ghost tube.
is for
Yeah.
SLS, and so far we've actually had some interesting things that
We
we've
have.
gotten
Absolutely we have. And
with that.
I think it is reliable, but just the way that some of these things lined up is just you can't it's so hard to find a moment like this where you can like look at it in 3 or 4 different views and be like, look, she was right there talking to us. She was right there.
Right.
You could feel her cold spot. You could see her movements. It was it was phenomenal. And not only that, but to change the narrative from this negative old man that didn't want to have people down there to get to have it to turn it to flip it on its head, right? This little girl just wanted attention. She just wanted to talk to somebody. And that alone was incredible.
Oh, it's cool. And for those that have ever investigated with us, we spent a lot of time. We spend most of our time trying to figure out, trying to find something to explain any interaction that says it's not a spirit, right? And anytime we have a camera hit like this, we try to figure out what it's not. And that's why the SLS was, again, that love-hate relationship. Besides the fact that it's a pain in the butt to carry around, it can artificially map things.
Yes, chairs in particular. I mean, it likes to do chairs. It wants to find a body. That's its job.
Exactly. It wants to put a human where there should be a human, right? But this whole interaction with this pendulum, there was nothing behind us that would trick this.
Right. There was nothing there. And I mean, you can even see from all the videos and pictures on our website, we documented this so thoroughly to know where everybody was, to know what was going on, you know, and you reference then, like, you start looking back after a review and we start talking about those little rocks being thrown or moved or kicked or whatever you want to call it. Our thought after finding out this was this little girl and this was the interaction she was having, she was just trying to get our attention, you know? So you start to put all these things together then, and you put it in perspective, and it's one of those moments that you can't beat, that just sticks with us.
Yeah. And we spent a bit more time in this basement, but I believe this pendulum interaction was kind of the last that we heard of this little girl at this place.
Correct. Because we moved out of the basement at that point. We actually wanted to go up to the balcony where the usher has been seen and heard. And we actually got even more interactions up there. You know, we did spend some time up there. We got some more flashlights. We got some pictures even of some very strange lights going on up there.
Well, do you have that picture available with that mist that was over by the doorway in the front of the auditorium?
Is that the one you were referring to right here?
Yes.
Yes. So this was one of them. We were just kind of goofing around as we were preparing to move to another location. And that I couldn't figure that one out, because in that doorway back there, back behind you, again, when we're not paying attention, we're not focusing on it, you know, that's when we get the craziest stuff. But it formed out of nowhere and it disappeared just as quickly.
So that mist or figure back in underneath the exit sign, I think we had a couple pictures like taken in quick succession.
We did. Yep.
And
we
this
usually
was only
do
in
threes.
one of those.
Correct. Yeah. So it wasn't there in every single one. It wasn't something we noticed in person. It was only in the image. And I know after the fact, as we moved to the next location, we were kind of like looking back and we did notice that, and we tried to recreate it, and we just couldn't figure out what could have been causing that.
Yeah, and it's one of those things I wish we would see it while we're there. Because if
in the moment.
If we would have noticed that whenever we took that photo, we would have gone through that doorway and tried to not chase it, but chase it all at the same time. Right?
I mean, communicate with it, right? I mean, that's what we're there for. And there's so many times where this happens, where we want to talk to them. They show up when we're not expecting it, or you know, they'll try to say something that we're not hearing right off, and that's when it happens, and we're not able to go back, and we're not able to open up communication at that point because it's too late.
Well, and I think that, well, I know that's why when we go to repeat locations, because a lot of the times we do miss it the first time around.
Correct.
But then when you're doing the evidence review, you hear so many layers of the story. So then we'll go back to these locations and we'll start where we left off.
Right. We have focal points.
Those things.
That's right.
And that's just stirs up so much more activity, because then they're kind of getting excited because, oh wow, you really did hear what I had to say,
Right,
right?
right. And now they pick up where they left off.
Yeah, we kind of upset them when we were there the first time, when we weren't hearing what they were saying or weren't understanding them, right? And then when we come back with that, hey, I did hear you, now let's talk,
Right,
right? And then
right. And you can push it even further.
yeah, and so there's so many complexities to investigations that we continue to find new things every time we do something.
Yes, there's always something else. There's always something new, and then you open up so many new doors, and it's just it's incredible the amount of things that you miss, let alone find during one of these things. But
yeah, and I'm just glad that you have honed the craft on the spirit box and the phasma box, because I still find it fascinating that you're able to pick some of these things out in the moment, especially when we do SDs.
Well,
right?
the SDs in particular, because I'm able to kind of like focus in. And even during reviews, that's what I need to do. I need to have my headphones on. I kind of need to close my eyes. I need to zone in. And the only way you can really do that during an investigation, especially when there's so many people around and everything, is just, getting into the zone like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's funny that photo with the mist behind me. That's what we do at 2:00, right? Whenever when we're almost out of energy, you get like that second wind, and we get that last hurrah of energy that surges through us before we wrap up for the night. And it's always funny because, like you said, it's when we're not paying attention, we're kind of like zoned out. We're just too tired at that point, but they still want to talk.
Yeah, and we've kind of, I don't want to say debunked, because there's a lot of people that swear by it, but like the 3 a.m. thing, we're so exhausted that we have nothing left to give at that point. So they have nothing to pull from. We're out of it. Most of the time we peak around like 1 a.m. And I feel like that we've gone through it so many times where we want to stick around, we want to push through it. This 3 a.m. thing, literally nothing happens.
We did have something at 3 a.m., but it was actually after when we were at that American Renaissance Church, when we actually had the poltergeist interacting with us as we were getting ready to go to sleep up in the balcony, if you remember. And we'll talk about that later when we get into that investigation.
Yeah, that would be a good one to get into, because that was one of the predominant poltergeist activity investigations. But yeah, you're right. That did happen then. But again, we were literally about to fall asleep. So it's a poltergeist, so they weren't going to talk to us anyway.
Right. No doubt. So unfortunately, we're kind of running out of time here. So what are your thoughts on Twin City? Like, I think we should go back.
I would love to. We talked about it like in the moment. We talked about it there. I would love to go back. I don't think there's any question that they would have us back, and they would want us back. And they made so many comments at the time, and even running into us at conventions, and we started talking to them about it. That our findings and the way that we presented it and everything were just above and beyond. And I think that I would go back in a heartbeat. And there was so much to build off of from this one that, that would absolutely be a good one to pick up where we left off.
Mm-hmm. And not spend so much time in the basement.
Unless she wants to talk to us.
Well, but I think that spirit of Elizabeth, was it?
Yes. Yep.
I think that she's not necessarily tied to that basement.
No, but that's where she got our attention. That's
Correct.
The only reason that happened where it did. I think, I think that she was the one in the catwalk following us. I think she was the one in the backstage area that was playing with the tools and the balloons, the flashlights. And I think that she was kind of stuck with us the entire night. Outside of the auditorium and balcony area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think when we go back, because I think it needs to be a when we go back, right? When Aaron's with us again, you just bringing that third person into it, and she was not with us when we did this investigation,
right?
So I'd like to see what her feelings are on that, just because she also has those abilities that that aren't as strong with me, and that you're working
Well,
on.
and even like you're saying, you weren't as in tune with it last time we went there either. So it would be a whole different feel for you as well.
Yeah, I was still a little afraid of it. I'll be honest with you. I've gotten more comfortable with whatever the heck I can do, if there
Whatever you
is
want
a
to call
thing.
it.
Yeah, so I definitely would be more open to honing in on a few things. Um, but yeah, I definitely think it's worth another trip, and we'll have to get that scheduled within. I think this year's pretty filled up, isn't it?
Yeah, we're already pretty backed up. I mean, all the way out to October at this point. But, um, we'll we can make it a priority for next year if nothing else.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, Derek, I enjoyed the discussion
Always.
once again. And if everybody listening, if you've enjoyed what we've talked about today and on past episodes, make sure you give us a follow. Follow the show so you're notified anytime we go on for the next episode. Every Thursday at 9 o'clock, we go live. Leave us a review, and spread the word.
Yeah, and we always want to hear from you.
Yeah, we find value in sharing our evidence and our stories, because the more ears hear it, the more we learn, the more we get out of investigations, even that we've concluded. So please, feel free to reach out, come with us on investigation. But Derek, I think we're all wrapped up for this episode. Every journey across the bridge leaves something behind, a question, a feeling, or a moment that lingers longer than expected. But no matter how far into the unknown we wander, there comes a time when we need to turn back. Thank you for crossing the bridge with us again tonight, and for making the journey back safely. Until next time, stay curious, stay grounded, and remember, you can always return from the other side of the bridge. Have a great night.
Thank you, guys.
Toodles.